Okay. All right. Thanks for tuning in. A couple of things have come up that I want to share. I'm going to share my screen here. One had to do with we were getting to closing, and the our seller, we were representing the seller, and they were concerned that the buyer wasn't going to close escrow on time. So the question came up, well, how do we, deal with that? And under here, under paragraph, we're in the RPA, and it's paragraph, let's see, 14G. Demand to close escrow. Before buyer or seller may cancel this agreement for failure to the other party to close escrow pursuant to the agreement, buyer or seller must first deliver to the other party a demand to close escrow, the DCE. The DCE shall be signed by the applicable buyer or seller. Give the party at least 3 days after delivery to close escrow. A DCE may not be delivered any earlier than 3 days prior to the scheduled performance day for the close of escrow. If a DCE is incorrectly delivered, specifies the time less than the above time frame, the DCE shall be deemed invalid and void. And the seller or buyer shall be required to deliver a new DCE. So what our agent did in this case with their seller, they had the seller sign this, and they delivered it 3 days prior to the scheduled closing date. And I think it all worked out. And actually, the buyer ended up canceling, but and still had a right to. But that's notwithstanding, the seller got the notice out there, and it's, the buyer just couldn't avoid responding to it, so they used their option to cancel, which they still had. And the DCE is 3 days, as you know, and the notice, as opposed to the notice to perform, which I believe the default is 2 days. Let's see. Buyer view documents, right to cancel, buyer notice to perform. Yeah, it doesn't say here, but the notice to perform is generally 2 days, but the DCE is 3 days. So those are two, they're different in that respect. A couple other things that this is the new RPA, and down here under signatures, if our client was a trust or a LLC or a corporation, we used to have to do that form representative capacity. Now it's actually here in the seller's signature line. So if let's see. Yeah, for either, okay, the buyer's signatures. So the entity buyers it talks about, and you would just check this and say if you're representing the buyer, and say the buyer's a trust LLC, you put the name in there, who's signing, and you put the name of the trust here, and then they just sign. So we don't need to use that representative capacity form anymore. Same with the entity seller. If your seller is an entity, you just check there and fill in the boxes, and you're good to go. So that's convenient because we don't have to go outside and get another form. We talked about, we've had a couple of things come up where we've had to cancel a sale and or a listing, and those generally, at least the cancellation of the listing, need to be signed by the broker, because it's essentially the broker's listing. So be sure you get that over to us to sign if you're going to be canceling the listing. Had an issue come up in the past month about we were representing a seller who owned a condominium which had an HOA. And the HOA had a lien placed against it on all the properties by a roofer who had done roofing at the place. The owner had actually paid their share of the bill, which was an assessment to the homeowners. But the lien, not everybody did. So the roofing company placed a lien and it applied to everybody. So the question was, well, how do we deal with that? So, and it really is a title company matter to clear liens on a property. So you talk to your title officer. Remember, there's an escrow officer who handles the transaction per se, and then there's a title officer who is basically the underwriter of the insurance for the title insurance. And they're usually, well, they're always two different individuals. And they're listed in the prelim as the title officer. So you call the title officer directly and say, how do we get rid of this lien? This is what happened, blah, 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 blah. So there's nothing we can really do contractually. We have to kind of get the title company to deal with any liens against the property. We had another one, the closing that was held up for months with an IRS lien that had to be cleared. And there's just nothing you can do till the IRS, that lien is off the title. Otherwise, it is in front of the mortgage and everything else. So, we got to wait for the title to clear. And I see Eric's on the line here. I was going to go to the listing agreement, the RLA, and once again go over the importance of using the exclusion paragraph properly and following the rules in the exclusion paragraph. So Eric, since you had this experience recently and saved a sale through the use of this paragraph, you want to walk us through it. So it's paragraph 3A2. So A talks about 3A1 talks about that the seller agrees to pay us if we have a transaction during the listing period. But they also agree to pay us if we properly fill out this OR2. And Eric, you there? You want to tell us about this?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the situation was I had put in 90 days for the extension of the listing period. And on about day 85, one of the three buyer parties that had been interested in the property prior to it expiring contacted me and said, let's make an offer. So I promptly notified, first of all, I had notified the seller in writing that there were three people that were interested in the property that had seen the property the day before the listing expired, which is what we need to do.
Right. That's the last sentence here. The seller, however, shall have no obligation to broker under paragraph 3A2 unless not later than the end of the listing period or any extension or cancellation, broker has given seller a written notice of the names of the prospective buyers.
Which is exactly what I did. And there was no issue. The seller was accepting of that. And the buyer materialized. He came in with an offer that was accepted, negotiated and accepted. But he came in, like I said, on day 80 of the extension of the 90-day extension period. And unfortunately, it ended up being a 90-day escrow. So it ended up being 90 plus 90. The transaction ended up somewhat being 180 days.
Well,
But
heck, it was a 3-year listing anyway, right?
yes, I was on both sides of it, so I wasn't too angry at that point.
That's right.
But it's a really important clause. It's the first time it's ever materialized in my many years of doing this. But it's something that, the agent should put the 90 days in there and let the sellers know if there's some serious interest prior to the listing expiring in writing. And you may get a transaction out of the deal anyway.
Yeah, I'd say we've had maybe once every 3 years, we have something come up in that area where we do get a transaction out of a listing that has expired. So it is important to put it in all your listings because you never know what's going to happen.
Well done, Eric.
Yeah.
Perseverance.
Yeah, and one little other factoid around that circumstance was, okay, so now the listing's expired and the seller's running around and decides to relist it with a new broker. So when Eric, it hadn't hit the market yet, they had signed a listing agreement with the new broker, but it hadn't been effective, it hadn't come back on the market yet. And when Eric called them 80 days into, I don't know how long the listing was signed, maybe a week or two prior to that 80 days coming along. And the seller says, well, I relisted the property with another party. And he said, well, you better kind of call them and let them know that you have these exclusions because, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, actually, I called the broker myself and let them know that I understood that they had a listing and that was great. Best of luck. And oh, by the way, there are 3 exceptions.
Yeah. Typically, we would want our client to do that, the seller to do that rather than us call the listing agent directly. But, you knew the listing agent, so that was okay.
Well, I wanted to be sure that it got done. And that was the only way I was going to be sure that it got done.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. And let's see, do I have anything else? Something about solar panels. But I don't know exactly what I was going to cover with the solar panels. So I'll look at that while Heather gets started with her presentation for the day. So I'll turn it over to you, Heather.
All righty. Well, I just have a fairly short little tip today that I learned at Fusion. Lots of little tidbits, like I said in the meeting earlier. One agent there, one presenter had this great idea of how to respond to that question that we get every time we talk to anyone, right? The main question is,
how's the market?
Yeah, how's the market, right? And it's good to have a great little talking point for it. But this presenter's idea is, why not monthly create a market report and save it into your phone? So then when someone asks you that, you can say, I created this great little market report. If you want to know more information, I can send it to you right now. And then you can get their phone or their email, text or email it to them. And, get their contact info at the same time, provide them something of value. And it's a great way to, stay in contact and then follow up. So I wanted to show a couple of different ways that you could do that. Let me see what I've got here. Pop over. Oops. All righty. All right. So that Marisa creates us every month this great little market update. Comes out right around the 10th. And it's got all the information for the county. She sends it out a couple of different versions. Oh, I didn't mean to turn that purple. And It's got a lot of great info. So you could use this, you can personalize this. You can also send it, ask Marisa to personalize it for you, and she'll add your photo up here in the left, and then down here at the bottom, instead of it saying compliments of Better Homes, you can have it changed, or you can change it to your name and your specific info, so that they're, you know, if they go to look at it, they send it directly back to you, or, you know, it comes back to you. So that's a great option. You could also create something, oops, let me see, I'm not ready for that one yet. You could create something yourself. I mail out this little, I don't know why it's so small. I don't know if you guys, oh, there we go. That's a little bigger. I just do a little summary every month that I send out with some follow-up mail and things that's a little bit more succinct. It just has a few data points. So you can create something, or have our fantastic, actually, it wasn't me, I gave them the numbers, but our marketing department, they created this for me, and I'd be happy to share it with you, or, you know, you could come up with your own design for that. You also can, let me pull out here and go over, you can also do, if you want to send something out that's a little bit more detailed, you can, why is that not working? There we go. You can create a more detailed market report really quick and easily in the Realtor Property Resource. And it's, sorry, it's taking me a second here to get over to it. I'm on my laptop and I am just never as coordinated without my whole, all right, that wasn't it. Hold on. Without my regular computer. Here we go. I just keep clicking on the wrong thing. Okay, so in Realtor Property Resource, you can access that through Barris. There's a button right on your Barris main screen that you can go into, or you can just type in RPR. It's actually narrpr.com. And once you've logged into it once, it'll automatically come up, and then you can log into it. If you've never used RPR before, do go in and update your profile. That is right here by your little, you can see I've done that. I've got my picture, but you just go into profile and then make sure all the address and any information you want included, because it does include information about you, of course. But once you've done that, you can just come up right here to reports. You can see I have 2 reports created here recently. Go down to market activity report. And this just does report for you. All you have to do is put in your location. Like for instance, I just did one for all of Santa Rosa. The only bummer is you can't do a countywide one. That's what I wanted to do, but it didn't. It only allows you to do a city or a specific address. So for the one I have on my phone, I'm just going to do a citywide. If you work in several cities, you might do a couple, right? Have one saved for Santa Rosa, have one saved for Sonoma or Sebastopol, or wherever you most often work. And then all you do is you make sure market activity there is checked or highlighted, and then you click here on Run Report. Once you've done that, you have to put in an email for it to send the report to. All right, so you just put in and then you just click Run Report again. I just sent it to myself and then I accessed it on my phone. What you can also do is you can send it to yourself and then first change it, save it as a PDF, and then send it to your phone. That I found was a little easier than trying to create the PDF on my phone. So what I did was I went into my email and I downloaded the report. Let me find it for you guys. Here it is. All right, can you guys see the report now? It's a pretty nice report. It's kind of long, you know, so it may not be perfect for every situation, but it really does go into lots of good details. So once you've made this into a PDF, just send it to your phone. And then from your phone, you're going to download, go into your email, download it, save it into files. And then once you're in files, you just click on it, hit send or share. And then you can put in if you want to text it to them or if you want to email it to them. You could also, if you wanted to get fancy, you could create a link for this, post it on a site and then create a link, and then you just email or text the link. You could also put it, if you're not able to use the normal files, every phone's a little different. So if you're having any trouble using it, just saving it to the files on your phone, you could put it into your Google Drive and then access that if you use Google Drive, and then access that from your phone and share from there. So there's a lot of different options, but I just think it'll be really nice to be able to send that out right from your phone and share a market report, when you're at the market and someone asks you, or you're at a party, or you're talking to, all day long, we're talking to people about real estate. So this will be a great way to get something in their hands that reminds them of you.
Great. Yeah, let me, you can also obviously excerpt from my blog or give a link to my blog if that's the type of report you want to do.
That's a great idea, because that's already a link. So you could
Yeah.
just save the link in your
Yeah.
notes in your
Yeah.
phone, and
Yeah.
then just hit copy, paste it into a text, and then
Right.
they can look at it anytime and you get their phone number then.
Right.
Yeah, great idea.
And then this is the Bayris screen, and I don't know how many of you. I get my data for the blog from these trend graphic reports, which are part of. So you can save this graph here. This one is over all Bayris areas combined, but you find the one you want. And when you were talking about Sonoma County, Heather, so you go over, scroll down here, and you get Sonoma County, and now you have a chart of all the trends over the last 15 months, and the data table, which shows you all the data for the last 15 months. And then you can save that graph and send them here. I'll send you the latest graph on the Sonoma County. So that's another one you could use as a. But I like the idea of people ask you, how's the market? You should have some quick verbal responses and say, but I'll send you a full market report. Give me your address, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Good idea. Okay, well, anybody got any transaction questions that you're up to your eyeballs in? Rebecca, you have a question? No, you're just saying hi? Okay.
Nope,
All right.
just saying hi.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we'll let you go early today, and have a great weekend, and we'll, I'm not sure about next week. Let me just look and see what's happening next Friday.
Did you find the thing on solar you were looking for?
Oh,
Or?
I did, yeah, let me do that as long as I found that. Hold on a second. I'll go back to share screen and see if I can find that again.
Yeah, I'm available next Friday, I think, unless you're out of town. We should.
I have a
Your board meeting.
well, it's a budget meeting. Let's see. I think I closed my yeah, I closed my access to zip form. So I'll carry the solar thing over till next week. But there is in describing property that conveys with the property, it now includes solar energy systems, I think it's called. So there's no question that the solar energy system, and then it also deals with leased items more thoroughly now than it used to, because some of the solar systems are leased. I installed one, and it was through a county grant that's become part of my tax bill. So it'll show the payments for it will show up in the tax bill. And, you know, all that stuff needs to, it'll just come out in the wash and be shown in all the records. So we'll be seeing more and more of that as people install more solar over time. Okay, everybody.
In a week or two, Norbar is offering a 1 hour, they call it power hour, where CAR has taken all the main questions that people have about the new RPA, and they're going to do a 1 hour, just like answering questions. So that might be a good place if people are, you know, we're still getting used to that thing. So
Yeah, great. I did see that was coming up, so I'll check that out too.
yeah, cool. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
everybody. Have a great week ahead, and Heather will probably have a training next week. So why don't you plan for your full training, because I'll be out.
Okay.
All right, great.
All righty.
See you all
Bye,
later. Attend Heather's training tomorrow.
Yes.
Get your goals down into specific action plans. All right, see you
All right,
later.
see you later.
Bye-bye.